usually black males, monitored black activists including Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Elijah Muhammad, Huey Newton, and many others. The program was targeted at those likely to have information about ghetto happenings. The recruited informants were sent to spy on people in the black neighborhoods. These informants were listening posts, tools for blanket surveillance of a community or area. Informants reported on candy store owners, barbershops, certain churches, and African American bookstores. GIP operated with no oversight from courts or Congress. One of the first major projects involving the Ghetto Informant Program was Operation POCAN, the FBI's effort to monitor and disrupt the 1968 Poor People's Campaign. FBI agents posed as journalists, used wiretaps, and even recruited some of the recruiters as informants. A March 1968 memo stated the program's goal was to prevent the coalition of militant black nationalist groups, to prevent the rise of a black messiah who could unify the militant black nationalist movement, to prevent militant black nationalist groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them to both the responsible community and to liberal sympathizers. It also aimed to prevent the long-range growth of militant black organizations, especially among black youth. Informants were asked to keep tabs on gang activity, to follow ex-convicts, and then warn the FBI if anything was about to go down. At least 67 informants were members of the Black Panther Party, who were tasked with spreading disinformation on the Black Panthers, as well as sending reports to the FBI. Let's take a look at a few well-documented informants. The Marcus Garvey Must Go campaign. When Marcus Garvey first arrived in the United States in 1916, he quickly found his way to many of New York's most prominent black radical activists and intellectuals. And at least briefly, Garvey enjoyed their support. But by 1920, A. Philip Randolph, W.E.B. Du Bois, and other black leaders who had supported Garvey after his arrival came to believe that Garvey's program for black advancement was unsound and that Garvey himself was a fraud. Prominent black critics derided Garvey's proposed solutions for the problems of African Americans. They believed that his plans for black progress, including his Black Star Line and the establishment of a Pan-African empire, were unrealistic and ill-advised. They considered the Universal Negro Improvement Association's grandiose titles and military regalia to be preposterous, and they thought Garvey to be little more than a self-aggrandizing buffoon. Many accused Garvey of squandering the hard-earned money of his hard-working poor supporters. Black opposition to Garvey coalesced into what came to be known as the Garvey Must Go campaign. Supporters of the campaign, known collectively as the Friends of Negro Freedom, intended to unmask Garvey as a fraud before his black supporters. They also appealed to the federal government to step up investigations of irregularities in the Black Star Line and to look into allegations of violence on the part of Garvey's inner circle. James Wormley Jones was a black police officer and the first black FBI special agent who went undercover to take Garvey down. His information was the nail in the coffin J. Edgar Hoover needed to arrest Garvey. On November 19, 1919, Jones was appointed as the first African-American special agent by A. Bruce Beluska, who at that time was the director of the Bureau of Investigation. Soon after he joined the organization, the name was changed to the Federal Bureau of Investigation and was headed by newly appointed director J. Edgar Hoover. Jones's first undercover assignment came in 1921 when he infiltrated the African Blood Brotherhood, a secret armed African-American black liberation group headquartered in New York City. While working with the FBI in New York City on the African Blood Brotherhood, Hoover assigned Jones to infiltrate Marcus Garvey's Universal Negro Improvement Association. The information Jones provided to the Bureau would help lead to the arrest of Garvey on mail fraud charges. Garvey was imprisoned for 3 years and then deported from the United States, never to return. Richard A. Oakey gave the Black Panther Party some of its first firearms and weapons training, which preceded fatal shootouts with Oakland police in the turbulent 1960s. Aoki was also an undercover FBI informer. Unbeknownst to his fellow Panther activists, Aoki served as an FBI intelligence informant, covertly filing reports on a wide range of Bay Area political groups. He committed suicide in 2009 after a long illness. Photographer Ernest Withers captured some of the most iconic images of the civil rights era. But Withers was also an FBI informant, funneling information to the Bureau about the civil rights movement and its leaders. Withers documented the civil rights movement from the beginning, covering pivotal moments such as the murder of Emmett Till in 1955 and the Little Rock School integration showdown. He came to be so familiar and so trusted to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other leaders that he sat in on their strategy meetings. He spied on not only Black civil rights activists, but on those who supported the Memphis-wide strike by sanitation workers and political candidates, recording their car license plate numbers for the FBI. Withers also helped the Bureau to break a militant Black group called the Invaders, which had a following in Memphis in the late 1960s. He was the perfect source for them due to having the ability to go everywhere with an obvious professional purpose. William O'Neill became infamous in 1973 when his role in the 1969 raid in which Black Panther leaders Fred Hampton and Mark Clark were murdered was revealed. O'Neill was a Panther insider to the point where he was in charge of security for Hampton and possessed the keys to Panther headquarters and safe houses. At the same time, he was serving as an informant for the FBI. Among the information O'Neill fed his FBI contact was the floor plan of Hampton's West Side apartment that was used to plan the fatal raid where they were shot and killed. O'Neill committed suicide in 1990 by jumping into traffic on the Chicago Expressway.